Hey everybody, it's Emily the Crazy Worm Lady. I am here today with our harvested castings from our European night crawlers. And as you guys know, I was having trouble getting them baited out, and so I was using a corn cob and just slowly picking them out. But it was a several week process. I certainly could have probably started sifting earlier, but I was trying to minimize the worm loss in my harvesting process, because some of those worms, those babies especially, will end up in your finished compost. So I was trying to avoid that. So I'm going to show you what I'm left with. So this is a 5-gallon bucket, and you can see it's not even a gallon, I don't think, left, or maybe about a gallon left of unprocessed bedding, worms. Get a light down here so you can see a little bit better. So it's just unprocessed bedding and worms and all of that good stuff. So I brought you this update because I'm going to hop over to the bin. We're gonna add these worms back with their friends, and I'm going to add my finished compost here into my larger storage bin for compost. I have one outside and one inside, so I was going to add this to that, and we'll hop over and add these guys back with their friends and give them a nice big feeding. I'm sure they're hungry. Okay guys, so this is my red wiggler, well actually my blue worm compost from my worm factory. Even some sprouts are coming up in the storage tote. Get that to focus. There we go. It's still moist, but super flaky. I see a worm or two small ones here and there, but I'm just not going to worry about it. I might try to bait some of them out at some point, but they're fine in there. They can reprocess their own castings. But I just thought for reference I would put in some of this European nightcrawler compost to show you that, in my opinion, the compost is very similar. So here's our blue worm compost, and there is a blue worm there, it looks like. Come on, focus camera. This is our blue worm compost, and this is our European nightcrawler compost. Just thought I would show you guys, because when I was working with my bin, I always thought that the castings from my Europeans looked a lot lighter in color, and to me I thought the castings looked a little bit larger, but when I'm looking at it here and they're next to each other, it looks absolutely almost indistinguishable from one another. So just want to show you that real quick. Now let's go over and feed these worms. Okay guys, so here's our European nightcrawler bin, and I wanted to see what, if anything, they had left from last week. And this bedding feels moist, a little dry in this corner, but overall it feels moist in here. That carrot's been here since we started, guys. Don't know when that'll break down. But everything in here is looking pretty good. I'm just not finding worms congregated in any one area, but maybe I'm on the wrong side. We'll find out in a minute. This bottom corner here, I think, was the pineapple, because you see all those fibers? That's the fibers from the pineapple. And there we have a nice little mess of worms. Probably why it's moist too. The rest of that pineapple broke down and there's still some residual moisture from it. But yeah, these guys are looking good. Let's see what we have over here. And again, I'm leaving some of this cardboard and all in whole pieces just to see how it works in my bins. I usually, as you guys know, shred up my paper and all of that, but sometimes it's fun just to try new things and see how it works. These rags are whole, but I've always found the worms really enjoy them, so to me it seems worthwhile. But I'm not seeing a whole lot of food in here. And the worms look like they made good work of the food that we do have. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Europeans that we just harvested to this bin. So it's the unprocessed bedding as well as the worms that I had left over. And I like to add the unprocessed bedding back as opposed to throwing it in the compost pile or whatever, because the worms will work it, and see all those worms, they'll work back through it, and it'll just make for a richer compost in the end. Ooh, there's still quite a number of worms in the bottom here. I'll have to fish out when we're done. Did you guys catch that? I have sandals with socks on. You can laugh at me now or laugh at me later, it doesn't matter. But, so you see, I mean, this material, even though it has unprocessed cardboard and paper and things like that, some people would put this in with their plants and their compost because it's just more organic material that will break down. But me personally, I just prefer to run it through the system again. So I'm going to mix this up real well, kind of get this new bedding and all these worms kind of incorporated with the rest of our guys in here, and then we'll give them a nice healthy feeding. Okay guys, so I let these worms sit for about an hour just to settle in. They were kind of climbing the wall, so I wanted to make sure they were good to go before we fed them. But I do have something I don't usually feed my bins. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever fed this to my bins, and that is some rotted potatoes. They have been frozen. Sorry, I should have gotten this out first. There we go. So it's 4 good-sized potatoes that were rotting. So I froze them. They are in the process of thawing. They are not completely thawed yet, so I'm not going to bury them real deep. I might come back tomorrow and push them down a little bit, but for now I'm just going to leave them kind of up top, and I'll just cover them well with some bedding. So just some of my crushed oyster shell, and got my shredder here. Ooh, that was a lot. All over my camera too. Okay, so I'll pull some of this existing bedding to cover this little corner as well. But again, I'm not trying to pull too many worms up here and get them all upset, because it will be cool for a little while until this completely thaws out. But I'm eager to see if they can get into them within a week. I don't know. Like I said, I've seen people feed potato peels and say that it takes a long time, but they hadn't frozen it yet. And these, you know, don't have any holes in them. They're whole potatoes. So we'll have to see what happens, but I wanted to bring you guys along for this update today. I'm really happy we were able to get these guys harvested. There are lots of little babies, so hopefully we'll have lots of new European night crawlers soon, and we'll be able to pick up the feeding in this bin. So drop your comments below, like this video, subscribe if you'd like some more content from me, and I'll be back with you guys real soon for an update.